Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
And one of the games that we both really enjoy is QE. This is an auction game in which you're a government and you can print as much money as you want, so you do. It's an auction game, you can bid anything you want.
A lot of times in games when you give a brief overview, it's fun to say, like in real life, because most games do not really have that quality. But I love that this one does.
Yeah, it really does. But if you're wondering how it works, well, first of all, we're not reviewing that. We're reviewing the expansion, QE Commodities. So we're assuming if you're watching this, you already know how to play QE. And if you don't, go watch that first and come back, because we're just going to tell you how this changes the game. Here we go. To add this expansion in, you're adding 18 commodity tiles that are going to be randomly shuffled down in 3 piles. You have oil, gold, and cryptocurrency. Each player is also going to get their own little board here that's going to keep track of points at the end of the game, and you'll keep track of commodities that you will auction off. So, the way this works, adding it in, first of all, they get rid of the rule, there's no victory point for bidding 0 anymore. Instead, whoever has the second highest bid in each round is going to win a commodity tile. The first place winner is still going to win whatever the original tile was. So the industry tile, whatever it might be, whoever bids the highest is going to get this. Second highest is going to take one of these. They're going to write their own bid on it and keep it. And these will have different victory points on them that you'll get at the end of the game. So for example, oil is 4 and 5. That's it. But at the end of the game, whoever has the most oil tokens gets an extra 5 points. Gold is a little bit higher than oil, being 6s and 7s. But if all the gold tokens are taken, which may or may not happen, then they're all worth 3 points left. Crypto is all over the place. You can find one that's worth 2, one that's worth 0, and one that's worth 10. So it's usually higher than not. There's 2 8s and a 10. But there's also a 5, 2, and a 0. So this is the random pile that you're pulling from. So that's the biggest change, really, is that whoever is second highest will win that as their bid. However, the auctioneer is going to write that bid here because that amount of money is subtracted from the auctioneer's total at the end of the game, which, depending on how high your currency goes in the game, may or may not be a big deal, but it might add some to it. And that's it. That's all it adds, is a board for each player like this. These, second highest gets that, and the auctioneer can subtract all the second highest bids from their score at the end of the game. Okay, so there's 3 changes here to this game. The first, the most minor of changes, is the getting rid of the 2 points for bidding 0.
Great.
Hooray. Because to me, that was
missed.
That was one of the things about the original game. I was like, I guess, like once every round, I know I'm bidding 0 just so I can get 2 points. That just felt forced. That's gone. I'm glad. The second thing is the commodities themselves. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of second place getting something. Like a huge fan of that.
Because it changes the dynamic. One, you never are going to bid 0, so you're always going to bid something.
Right.
If you think that the lead person is actually going to have the highest bid, that was the time if someone way outbid, so everyone just says, 0. This is my point. This is my turn to get 2 points. That completely changes that dynamic. It
really makes a big difference in that. And these second place tokens are not small tokens.
No.
I mean, let's say you get a 4-point oil, which is the lower of the 2 oils. That's still 4 points that you're getting, because the original game there's not a ton of points, especially if you don't win many auctions.
Because you have to set collect by winning various auctions. You have to win auctions to get your own native country bonuses and stuff. So a lot of it is dependent on winning auctions, yeah.
Sure, but one of the problems the original game might have, and again, I keep saying problems. Again, I love the original game, but you could bid a ton of money, win a ton of the tiles, then you lose, and everyone else has just a few points that's scattered around.
Yeah.
This is going to change that completely because there's a fight for that second place, which by very nature then brings down first place, which makes the scores closer. I really think this feels... I didn't think QE was unbalanced, but this feels like a balancing expansion.
QE is in some ways group dependent or a little bit fragile, I would say. But I love that this is going to change that general mentality of it. If you've played the game a lot with the same group and you say, okay, well, this is kind of how it seems to shake out after a few plays. It kind of keeps going the same way. A lot of times what you're describing, someone bids a ton for the first many, many auctions, and then one person way outbids them to win. And all of a sudden now they're the one who's going to get eliminated at the end. This changes that. I think it's going to change basically every round of the game in a meaningful, fun way.
Really. And the different commodities have a good feel to them. The crypto is random.
Yep.
You know, you could get 0, but you could get 10. The gold is much more secure, but if everyone goes for it, then it becomes worth less than the oil. While the oil is the easiest thing to take, but you are also sitting there going that you might have got 10 points if you're taking crypto. They're very simple, but they're different, and they're not all going to get taken.
And a little majority bonus for the oil as well.
Right.
Which is enough to make you say, well, I bet I could go for 10 points in crypto, but if I keep taking oil, then I get a guaranteed bonus. I like the way that they all behave just a touch differently, but it's not hard to explain them.
The third change is that if you're the auctioneer, the second most amount is subtracted from your score. That's another big deal. It doesn't seem like a big deal, and again, it doesn't normally matter until the last couple rounds, depending on, again, your group. But if I can, people are wanting these second place things badly. They're going to bid high. You're hoping that happens because that's going to subtract from your total, and that can make, again, a big difference. If you want to see this game played, we played a version of this in our Winter Spectacular, and you can go watch that. We're going to cut it out and put it out separately later on, but you can see how this expansion fits in. And I'll tell you what, I'm never playing without it. Straight up from now on.
Even teaching games.
Even teaching games.
I think I agree. I think it's that simple. The only hiccup in my mind is explaining that whoever spends the most gets eliminated at the end, minus the value of whatever this second place bid was. I think that's just one little trip up, but I think it's worth it.
I agree.
Because they're so fun. I love not winning an auction, but getting something anyway, or that feeling of being so close. I bid a 1.7 quadrillion, and you did 1.8, and that's enough to get you second place. I didn't win anything that round, but that's still just a funny moment in the game that should be all about those kind of moments.
I actually also think that this expansion will affect some people who didn't like QE.
I think so.
Normally, I wouldn't say an expansion usually doesn't change people's minds. But if you thought there and you didn't like that you didn't get much in a game, this is going to fix that because 2 people are getting something every game. And since QE is at best with 4, you can play 3, but it's at best with 4. Mm-hmm. That means half the people are getting something. And in the auction, Nier has a better chance of getting stuff at this point. But he has a tendency not to want to because he can get that then other bid subtracted.
Right.
It changes the game in a good enough way. For me, this is a must. I'm giving this a 9.5.
Interesting. I'm giving this one a 9 because I agree with pretty much everything you said. I want to play it with this pretty much every time. I don't know if I could justify that many reasons not to play with this. It's just much more fun on a game that I already thought, well, this game's fantastic. Oh, it has an expansion coming out. I wonder what it'll do.
Right. When I heard Commodities, I thought, adding another thing to the game. Actually, whenever Commodities is added to any game, I'm like, you're adding another thing. This works really well.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, folks. That's QE Commodities. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I have all the oil.